Hey there, and welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. It is great to have you join us. This podcast series features those who have gained victory over a life encounter. With that life experience, we encourage those who are experiencing something that might seem to be insurmountable. We advance and encourage others by passing forward evaluated life experiences. We have three objectives in this podcast series. We want to encourage those who are engaged in any type of life encounter by offering to walk with you to help you gain victory over anything that might seem impossible. We want to share our experience to help you. Our second objective is to help you develop a confident resolve that there are multiple options to get past any life obstacle. It's a matter of thinking into the situation. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you are facing a dilemma resulting from a previous decision you wish you could reverse, we want to help you think into all of the facts and factors involved in making an informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business manager, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture Company who is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we feature Gina Urrichio for a third episode, where she continues her dialogue with us about her daughter, Allie, who is autistic, but is very artistic with her talents of artistic abilities. And we learn through Gina how to communicate with an autistic child, but it's important to know also just how others can be a point of continuity with raising children on the autistic spectrum, and she addresses how parents, grandparents can continue the learning that the parents have and the regimen that is important for these autistic children to have. It's a fascinating story, but Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain from Gina?
I think the one thing I got was how you speak to these children. They don't like loud noises. They don't like certain smells. Your speech to these children should be in a very gentle, soft way. I know you can be frustrated, but if you just remember to take a deep breath and realize they will respond better to you with your soft speech and understanding way. She has a book she is publishing or getting ready to publish, motherasana.com. Gives you ideas of how to work with your children, create activities for your children that have special abilities.
Marty, it's a fascinating way to learn how to adapt with and learn how to communicate with everyone with special abilities. Let's listen and learn together. Gina, thank you so much for joining us for the third episode regarding autism. For our listeners who may be joining us for the first episode, Gina has an autistic daughter, Allie, who is very artistic, and I emphasize that to just to differentiate between autistic. She is diagnosed as being autistic, but she's very talented in being artistic. We, in the first episode, spoke of autism and what some of the characteristics are. The second episode, we introduced her brother, Johnny. Today, Gina, I think it'd be good to talk about connection. How do we connect with those who are autistic? Connection, Marty and I think of that as how can we communicate with. Parents are obviously with their son or daughter generally more often than grandparents. In the context of connection, how can we all connect with the Allies of the world that we believe have very special abilities? They just process information a little bit different from the rest of us. It's a matter of connecting with those people. Gina, thank you so much for joining us again.
Good morning. So happy to be here again.
Let's talk about connecting. And you and Allie, I believe, have put together a book that builds on Allie's strengths, her abilities, and it, I believe, does address connecting. Can you address that just in more granularity? We call it clarity. How can we best connect with, and I consider it adapt with the Allies of the world?
Absolutely. I believe initially families and parents and caregivers and grandparents need to take a different perspective with connection. And how do we do that really is we're built as a society and we're built generationally as coming in first with conversation and words. And the autistic individual, we have to look at them as a piece of light actually that takes in information so much differently than just words and language. They are very overwhelmed by a lot of language coming at them because they're also trying to read facial expressions, take in the environment, they're taking in what you're trying to say to them. Maybe they have headphones on and the sound is muffled. So if we take a different perspective in way of coming at them through more of a gentler, more spacious way, I feel that connection is inevitable and very satisfying. If I could explain further, by doing that, one of the ways that I connect with Allie right away is through silence. I'll give her a little maybe gaze or eye contact, and then she likes her hands scratched. So I'll greet her in the morning and I'll put out my hand, and then she'll reach out and she'll reach out for my hand, and then I scratch her hands, and that brings us to not only are we connecting, we're connecting each other with skin to skin. And she accepts that from me first rather than me barreling in the door and saying, "Good morning. How are you? It's sunny. It's rainy." It's because then she's thinking, it's fall, it's sunny, summer's over. She's thinking in pictures, she's remembering a couple days ago when it wasn't raining. I mean, she's trying to absorb all of this language. So coming in very quietly is, I think, one of the very first steps in accessing and getting connection.
That's just great. I'm processing what you're saying as we who work with those of special abilities need to be particularly aware of the five senses. You just mentioned touching the hand, the facial expressions, the five senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste. As we emphasize what is most effective, I do know that our granddaughter, who is high spectrum autistic, is particularly sensitive to loud noises. So,
Mhm.
in the context of the sound senses, she does not like the radio to be loud. She doesn't like thunder and so forth. But I think in that context, as we soften our voice, our granddaughter, perhaps Allie, is more receptive to that. I go through that only to ask you, is it really adapting to each of the five senses and knowing how best to communicate that way?
Yes, because sensory processing is a huge part of actually Allie's diagnosis, but it can be a very big part in the overall spectrum diagnosis. So I believe when we go in from that perspective, we can quiet down the environment in different ways, whether it's cooking something with a pungent smell, or if we have something that, we have essential oils that we're working with that are actually a soothing smell. There's ways to come in, and you'll remember the days when perhaps your children were young, if you have multiple children, or even when they play alongside typical children, there is something called parallel play. So we're actually doing the same activity, but it's side by side, or we can be doing a different activity side by side, but we're doing it quietly. We're sharing the same space and we're connecting, but we're necessarily not doing the exact same thing. So perhaps I'm reading the newspaper at my kitchen table and I have Allie in a place where she's able to sit at the kitchen table and maybe do a little word search or something. And she's sitting there doing her word search and I'm enjoying my magazine or my newspaper, and I can facilitate maybe some nonverbal communication, or take a look at, maybe some eye contact with her, or, do you need help with the word search? Let's work on it together, and sitting side by side so our energy isn't facing each other. So she's not getting so much interaction. So basically, a lot of these ideas and things, that's when it went into our project, our book project, which is actually a tool that now I'm calling it, that we created for families, called The Art and the Voice of Autism. And what it is it's a way to connect with your family through, if you're a parent, a caregiver, a babysitter. You can pull out this spiral bound tool that gives you lots and lots of ideas on connection, and also satisfies the typical child who's with you, and gives you different ideas of how to connect together, maybe get some inspiration, and then an invitation to connect for 1 moment, 1 minute, because that's successful. Don't ever forget that. Or perhaps stay in the project, or stay in the chapter of the book, or the season of the book, for longer. I mean, it's an invitation for all ages, the ages 1 through 100, to plan menus together, to have artistic expression together, to have journaling prompts together, and also a chance for the caregiver to take in a little bit of quiet time through my insight.
Is your book applicable to autistic people of all ages, or is it more age specific?
It's applicable to all ages.
Our experience with our granddaughter, and just a very limited experience with autistic children, it is our perception that autistic people seem to be exceptionally creative. Is that too overgeneralized as a character trait, or is it your experience? Certainly with Allie, she's very artistically talented. I'm curious if it's a general trait that autistic people are creative in perhaps in their own way.
Yeah, it's funny to look at, because although she's very creative and she's very artistic, she also is very specific, and, might I say, rote in her ways. To have that connection, you have to kind of break through the roteness and get to the creative side. So the child sometimes likes a written schedule, or a written loosely schedule of what's going to happen next. And I find if you allow some spaciousness in between the schedule for the child or the adult to express, I don't like this, or I like this, or let's do this and not this. Because as parents and caregivers, we're so sure sometimes, we are so sure sometimes that we are the teachers. We have to learn to also be the student and let them show us their likes and dislikes. So while Allie is very creative, maybe I'm setting up this big paint, morning where we're going to paint and we're going to do this. And she's like, I don't want to. I don't feel like painting today. I'd rather use markers, or I feel like using my sticker book, or guess what? I don't feel like creating, So again, with my business, Mother Asana, born from my yoga practice, it's finding that beautiful space in connection where you're being soft but firm, but you're over and over letting go, and you're staying in the moment, because you might have had the intention that we're going to paint or we're going to build gingerbread houses. And then all of a sudden you're at the table and you've got this typical child who's happily building a gingerbread house and eating the candy and doing all the things that you anticipated. But you've got the autistic individual who is like, I don't want to do this. How do you connect with them? You have to give spaciousness to them. So you have to learn to not be so rote as well. I don't know if that makes sense the way. Yeah.
Angelina likes to be on my iPad, and her parents don't want her to be on there but certain amount of time, because she can be so focused on it. she likes to create. So she has these little creations that she does, and
Mhm.
she colors them in. She's very good at that. But she
Mhm.
would like to be doing that most of the day. And
Yep.
so we've
Yeah.
got to lovingly set the limits. And I'm going, how do I talk to her to say and have her accept the fact that it's 20 minutes at a time?
I think one of the things that we use with Allie, which has been a wonderful tool, and of course now they have it on an app. It's called the Time Timer, where you can actually, I don't know if you guys know about that, where you can actually see the time ticking away. So it's a visual. So like when the red is running out, then your clock is up, and they can see the visual actually happening. Allie's smart enough, I mean, now that, like, and I'm sure Angelina is too, to just use the timer on the iPhone or on the iPad. What I like to do is have like a piece of paper, and I'll say, 5 more minutes. And then I'll say, okay, now say I'm doing a project in this book, 5 minutes, and we're going to come to the kitchen table. 20 minutes, where you're going to work with Emily, mommy, daddy, or whoever is there. We're going to color Allie's choice. Allie chooses what she wants to do, and it's for 15 minutes. This is what you'll do. And then you get to have your iPad back for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, you can come back and take another chunk. So I've actually, in order to get things done with her, I have to take 15-minute segments, turn them into 15-minute segments. So it's like 15 minutes we'll do a word search, 15 minutes we'll do some reading, 15 minutes we'll do, if we're in the library, you can look at the books. And then when you're done with your 45 minutes, you get your iPad back for 15 minutes. And then it's like time for lunch or time for whatever. But you stay more loosely based in the schedule, and it works really well because she knows in the end she's going to get that iPad back, which is the reinforcer. But there's other things as reinforcer. If she likes music, she likes her Mozart, she like iced tea. So sometimes we'll you can have your iced tea, and you can go for a car ride, and different ways of giving her what she needs. But I feel like Allie, as a strong woman, is very receptive of, I will give to you spaciousness if you give me spaciousness.
Gina, I'm going to guess you have just summarized perhaps a decade or more of learning in what you just said. And there is what I'm processing, a very gentle mix of regimen or discipline, and that's a military term, so to speak. We do necessarily need a regimen or discipline, but we need to be very flexible with adapting to the right time. So I'm guessing you have learned that very delicate mix of regimen, flexibility, adapting to Allie, and how it all works together, that there is the reward at the end when you do. But maybe this time in Allie's life, an autistic person's life, well, maybe that aspect of regimen you had in mind didn't fit exactly, but maybe it'll fit 10 minutes later. Am I processing what you're saying somewhat right?
Yes, and I would say it's a family recipe for joy in that way, because you're constantly creating this recipe, and then you're adding, and then you're taking out, and then you're like, I might try this version this way. I might tweak it. I might go back. And then it's all about control as well, because when we try to control the manipulative as the parent or the outcome, most likely it's not going to end up in our favor, because we try to shape shift. Even when we try to shape shift any of our children, we find, and we've had this conversation before together, the three of us, where we may find out he's going to go to school and become this. And then it's like, well, he went to school and, he took the class, and now he's like, oh, I ain't doing that. So it's the same thing with the autistic individual. it's the same thing as you and I and Marty going into the different seasons of our life. In fact, I wrote the book through the seasons so we can discover the seasons of our life, because we do finish certain things and move on to other things and projects and likes and dislikes, and decide that we're going to try something new, and we let other things go. And if it's okay for us, then why can't it be okay for them?
I also want to say, I think the tone of voice with Angelina works better if it's a softer, kinder
Mhm.
voice and not so much the military military voice.
Yeah, it's the constrictive. They're so intuitive, but we're all intuitive. We just don't access it. And so they're giving us an invitation to use our intuition, and we can connect with them that way, because the conversation that you're going to have, with your sister or a friend, and loud laughter or whatever, may work for in one friendship, it may not work in another friendship, same relationship. It's going to be, it's just letting it transcend and allowing that spaciousness, because when I allow the spaciousness for myself, I'm getting freedom too, and I'm not getting upset that it's not working out. Like if I'm out with Allie and it's not working, and we are grocery shopping and she's having a tough time, if we have to abandon the cart right in the middle of the store and leave, there were times where I would be so upset that it wasn't working out. And I was like, I just really wanted to get this done, and da, 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 and it's like I've got the roll, the loop in my head. When I let that go and say, all right, we're not gonna make tacos tonight, we're getting takeout, and let's go for a car ride. When I let it go, I'm free. So I don't have to deal with all that constrictedness in my body, which makes me a better caregiver, because as the caregiver, you have to take care of yourself. You can't have all that stress all, 24/7, because that stress is going to have awake times in the middle of the night where you have your, things pop up, and you have to really learn that to soften and feel safe in your life, feel safe on your path.
Adaptability, flexibility, rigidity, firmness, seasons of life. How do we put all this together to be very meaningful and have a connected relationship with those who may process information just a little bit differently from us? It is a matter of having connected communication. It is a matter of having a connected relationship where the person with whom we're interacting and communicating understands how we are, who we are. They know we care. But it is a matter of us adapting to, and seasons of life in some people's life might occur more frequently than in others. How perceptive are we in knowing seasons of life and how to adapt to that other person? I think it's a matter of wanting to do that. We have to have the mindset that yes, we do want to learn. Yes, we do want to adapt. But yes, we do want to maintain standards, but be flexible and adaptable enough to adjust to different people in the way they process information, such that we are able to communicate in a very effective, connected way. Let's learn together. That is very, very important what you just said. For some of us, the military mindset, the regimen, I mean, we need a schedule. And I think you would say to those of us who are or were formerly military, and yep, you do as I say, and so forth. Hey, if you don't bend and flex, you're going to make it real hard on yourself. So just learn to live with life and learn to live what it is to be free. Here I am verbalizing what you're saying. Marty would probably say, I know it's hard for you to even try to summarize what I'm hearing. But Gina, how can our listeners get a copy of your book?
Absolutely. At the World Wide Web, right? On the internet, our children's favorite place to just live and be. So it's Mother Asana, ASANA.com. And there you can find our book, our blog, and we also have really fun merchandise that we've created alongside with Allie's art. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up for Christmas time for gifts. We're going to have socks and mittens and hats and all kinds of different things where I find that that's another way to connect. So when someone's wearing, you know, a beanie hat with her Shine logo on it, you can go and say, I like your hat. You know, it's sunny out today. So there's different ways to connect. We have art journals and stickers, and we're just an invitation to kind of join our universe and be free. Keep accepting yourself, less constriction, more spaciousness. And I dedicated the book to my parents because essentially my dad introduced me to art as a young girl, but most importantly, my parents let me be free.
Wow.
And that's, you know, the cornerstone of what we're all wanting.
Gina, you seem to be very settled in understanding Allie, and I'm making that statement in the context that yes, every day can be a new learning experience, but you seem to be, I've just put a number to it, probably at the 95% or so satisfied level. How long did it take you to reach that point of satisfaction? I'm not even sure I'm using the right terms, but you seem to have a pretty good understanding. Help our listeners. Has it been almost a decade or so to get to that point, or can you just take a guess? I'm guessing it did not occur real fast.
It did not occur real fast. It's a lot of bad. I would have to say we've had, you know, a lot of bad days. What do I want to call them? Bad days or difficult times. But I feel like, especially as Allie became a young adult and was voicing or showing her likes and dislikes and what she wanted in the world, I became more open to her choices and what she liked versus what I wanted for her. And I kept practicing that openness. It's really hard for her to go out into the world and take in sounds, environments, language. And when she does that every day for 4 hours, she needs space when she comes home to have freedom, to have downtime, to just kind of mill about. And when I started giving her more of that freedom, now look, it's not ideal, like to say, oh, you know, she's been on her iPad for 2 hours or whatever. So is my son. So is my husband some days. I mean, we're reading, researching, we're watching YouTube, we're watching a news story. We are using it as a tool. I just remind her to take breaks. Let's keep a healthy, you know, lifestyle. She gets out into the world and she gives back to community and she enjoys her life. And I let go more and more every day.
I think that's very important for particularly us. I don't want to suggest it's more important to others, there are two grandparents and others. But in the context of grandparents, we probably spend less time with the Allies of the world than the parents do. And I think it is a matter of us to understand and then learn what it is to adapt and connect. And what I'm sensing, Gina, is from your life learning, the quicker we can do that, the better life everyone's going to have. And it is a matter of being flexible. I'm going to use that term to adapt to Allie, the way she processes information. I think that's very important for us to learn. That's what I'm discerning in part from what you're saying.
Absolutely.
I like the idea of saying to Angelina, okay, you can have this amount of time. Let's take a break and then you can go back to it. Because I know Angelina, if she knows that she can go back to it, I think she'll be a little easier and more adaptable to, okay, I have to take a break when she knows she can have it back.
And then you're getting, you're becoming satisfied too, because at that time too, whatever you're doing, like for instance, I'll just say this really quick. We have a recipe for Valentine's Day in here where we make a chocolate board together, but you can, just get your own little wood board and you can say, we're going to make this, Valentine's chocolate board. And you can tell her, we're going to shop for the chocolates and the goodies and the salty and the sweet and however you want to assemble it. We're going to shop for it. Then you're going to come home. She can take a break. You got your little Target bag or whatever store she likes to go to. Come home. She takes a break. Okay, now we're going to make the board. We're going to make the Valentine board. We're going to assemble a few Oreos, a few pretzels, a few this, a few that. You're going to assemble it. You can choose what you want. We can decorate. We can not decorate. And we create something together. Mm-hmm. And then it's out on the table. And then, Papa's eating it. And this one's coming by and taking a picture of it. And you're like, Angelina and I made this, board today. And, but it wasn't like you were sitting down for 2 hours having this heart to heart with her, like you might with me. It's so satisfying.
Right.
It's so satisfying. That's why it seems like that was always a struggle for my dad, the grandfather, is how can it, oh, I just want to talk to her, and it was like, you gotta keep going in these side doors, Dad. Just, let her be your muse and, come in. And even if you appreciate her art, that's connecting with her.
Right.
But I had to be creative in creating these ideas. That's why I put them all together. That way I kind of created a day in the life of, if you want to do a beach picnic, you go shopping for the snacks. Al, you're going to have Fritos today. You're psyched, right? And, okay, get your Fritos, get your thing, go, okay, now we're at the beach. Okay, we're together, take a picture, put it in her photo album, put it in her iPad. You can just look at pictures, another way you can use that darn thing. But, it's just sort of, that was fun. We had fun that day, didn't we? Or that was a really tough day. Remember, you were so frustrated. Yeah, stuff like that. And that's kind of what I packaged together here.
Gina, thank you for sharing your life's learning. Again, I think a way to summarize for our listeners what you're saying is learn to adapt to, learn how to speak through all of the sensory perceptors. And it may, the current sensory perceptor may change in the next 5-10 minutes. Just learn how to adapt. When we feel comfortable with that, we're each going to be very satisfied that, yep, we are connecting. And Marty and I are big believers. Gina, you have very aptly and very eloquently expressed it. When we know how to connect, it is very, very fulfilling and very satisfying, and everybody has value. It's a matter of us learning that value, adapting to, and just go with the flow, so to speak. Even those of us who want discipline, hey, we've got to learn how to go with the flow. Gina, on behalf of our listeners, thank you so much for sharing your life's learning.
Thank you. I love talking with you all.
Gina is very articulate in describing life learning through Allie, being able to be very gentle but yet rigid, being flexible but yet having standards, to very effectively adapt to Allie, her learning style. Everyone is precious in God's sight. Everyone has an ability to learn, to communicate. Some people do it in ways that are different from us. It is up to us as parents, grandparents, those who are caretakers in any form, to adapt to learn about, to be the person with whom everyone can associate. And as we learn people's learning styles, as we learn how to adapt to, communicate with, we are effectively modifying a person's behavior. and in many cases we're modifying our behavior. Gina was very articulate in saying that there were times she wanted to do things and she had to be flexible to adjust her schedule to do things that were more suitable to Allie, and in the end, everything is working out fine. I want to encourage each of us to share our learning experience with those who process information perhaps just a little bit different from the rest of us. Again, everyone is precious in God's sight. He created each one of us for a very specific purpose, very specific talents, skills. It's a matter of us adjusting to, learning about, and being effective with communicating and connecting with everyone who is possibly just a little bit different from we are. Gina was just incredibly articulate in summarizing many years of experience of her ups and downs, if I could express it that way, with Allie, and being able to adjust and adapt to her to where it seems they're in a happy state of right now being settled in where they are, albeit perhaps every day is a learning experience, maybe even a new learning experience. But I think Gina would say that she has learned how to learn, and it appears that Allie, in the similar sense, has also learned how to learn, adapt to, and everyone is getting along well. Again, I want to encourage each one of us as we are working with others to communicate what you've learned. The more we share with each other, the greater the opportunity we'll learn from each other, benefit from each other, and through it, we'll have the opportunity to advance each other. We'll have the opportunity to advance those for whom possibly we are a caretaker, but we will advance others as we learn how to work with the various situations we have. Marty and I are certified life coaches through the Maxwell Certified Leadership Team. We'd like to share our experience with you and to help you through any life challenges, to help you determine your very best in God's purpose for your life. Let's schedule a 30-minute complimentary coaching session. Marty and I would love to have the opportunity to help you determine if we are the best to help you through any challenges you may have. Contact us at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, @thecooperculture.com. Let's schedule a 30-minute complimentary coaching session to help you determine if Marty or I would be the right people to help you through any of life's challenges so that you can experience the fulfillment and full potential of your life. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating with this podcast. We hope you will want to endorse this podcast. We hope you also want to share with your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, your Twitter and Instagram communities. The more we share, the greater the opportunity we'll have to benefit others. Our heart purpose is to advance each other and share with each other our learning, our life learning experiences. The more we do that, the more the opportunities we'll have to advance each other. As we learn together, share together, we'll all benefit from the experience. We look forward to working with you.